Well, you mentioned a lot of, I think the one you mentioned issue of one
Talked
power.
about Empower and school feeding program.
And school feeding program. Well, let me just say that with all those programs initially were suspended, but the president has given approval that we should do. And we have sat down to show. Let me start with the homegrown school feeding program. Well, I was a former minister of state for education. And when I was in education, I sat here, even when I came, as this has always been my chair. So as if I have a permanent seat here. And I said, okay, at that time when you asked me about the school feeding program, I said I will cross-check. Because as at that time, it has never been too open to everybody. But with directives of Mr. President, it must be inclusive. The first thing we do was look at the act and provision. The act says provide for primary 1 to 3. You understand? And then secondly, we have to look at the president directive inclusive. And in that inclusive, the act of NCPA has a steering committee. And we have to look at that steering committee. That steering committee is holistic, even allowed everybody. So we have constituted the steering committee of which I'm chairing. And then what are the components of that? Ministry of Education. There's no way you can say you are feeding school students. The owners of the student don't even know. So you understand, so they are part of it. Ministry of Finance, they are funding, budget and economic plan, they are this, women affairs, they are dealing about the children. You see, we also have to work with the smallholder farmers who provide food. So agriculture must be there. You understand? We also need data to ensure that everybody thing that we are doing, we have digital identity that we can present for verification, for monitoring and evaluation. So NIMSI has to come into it. You understand? So virtually all that is okay. There is hurdles. If you want feed a child and you want to follow it to procurement level, that will take you 6-7 months. You cannot conclude. It becomes a problem. So procurement, BPP, Bureau of Public Procurement, is part of it also. So that holistic committee, we have this thing, and we have looked at it, this thing, and we have developed and designed this thing. We've selected those this thing, and then what we have now is a lot of issues that were really complained this thing. What are in terms of monitoring and evaluations? So we have to develop a component. You see, where we have more challenges is at end user. That is the student that will be fed by the cooks, and then more food that will be purchased from the smallholder farmers to give to cook, and then this thing. We had previous complaint before that the food are not given. And even if they are given, they are not nutritionally okay. So what do we do now? That's the level now we have a lot of verifiers. And that's why I'm also calling for the civil society group to come forward. That verifiers, apart from the ones we are going to, we also employ and seek the understanding of civil society group. So that if our person says, yes, school have been fed, and then we have a contrary report from the civil society group. Definitely, that of civil society group, who are unbiased, uncompromised, will take precedence, and will follow it with their evidence to see how much we can investigate, so that we can take the necessary decision. You understand? Right. And also, if we say we are feeding 500 students in school, we should be able to have them in a timeline that you can check and see. And then whoever goes to that school will verify that there are 500 that this thing. So that's why I say technology is also involved.